Welcome to the podcast, folks. Today's discussion is all about the power of compound interest, why starting early is so critical for securing your retirement.
Yeah, it's fascinating how small, consistent investments can grow so exponentially over time.
Absolutely. Imagine like investing just $20 a week starting at 21, and by the time you're 66, that modest sum has blossomed into over $330,000, assuming, say, a 7% annual return. It's pretty
Mm,
mind blowing when you think about it.
right, it's almost like planting a tiny seed and watching like a huge tree grow over decades.
Exactly, and it's that snowball effect Warren Buffett talks about. He calls it because the investment starts small and then grows as the returns themselves generate new
Yeah,
returns. It's like your money is working for you 24/7.
but here's a question. How realistic is that assumption of a steady 7% annual return? Don't markets often fluctuate?
That's a valid point. Markets do fluctuate, and while 7% is kind of an average assumption for a diversified stock portfolio or index funds, actual returns will, vary.
Right.
But the main takeaway is the importance of time in the equation of compound interest.
hmm It really highlights how critical it is to start investing early rather than waiting until you're older.
Exactly, because the earlier you start, the more time your investments have to compound. Even tiny amounts can snowball into something substantial over approximately
Yep.
40 years. It's like magic, but really it's just math.
And it's not just about the growth, right? There's also a discussion about inflation, especially since inflation keeps eroding your purchasing power over time.
Right, inflation is that silent risk. The average inflation in the US is around 3% per year, though it can fluctuate, and in Europe, it's usually between 2 to 3%. So if
Mm,
you're just parking your money in a savings account with, say, a 3% interest rate, you're not really gaining much.
exactly, because in that scenario, your purchasing power is, well, basically stagnant after accounting for inflation, right?
Exactly. That's why it's so important to choose investment vehicles that offer returns outpacing inflation,
Yeah.
like diversified portfolios or index funds that tend to have higher potential returns.
Now, I have to challenge something here for a moment. Don't you think that sometimes the push for stocks or index funds glosses over the risks involved? I mean, not everyone's risk profile fits a high market exposure.
I get that concern, and it's valid. But the key message here is about early investment and financial literacy. If you start young, you have time to weather the ups and downs.
Right.
Even if markets dip along the way, you can recover over the long term.
True, but I'd argue that a balanced approach, combining a mix of assets, can be more reassuring for those who are nervous about volatility.
Absolutely, and that's where financial literacy comes in. Understanding which options can outpace inflation without taking on undue risk is essential.
Yep.
It's not a one size fits all approach.
It's also interesting how the statistics in the US and Europe really emphasize the problem. Only 58% of US adults invest in the stock market, and in Europe, it's even lower at 25% in some regions.
Exactly. And in places like Germany and France, the rates are even lower, which may be partly explained by differing cultural attitudes and levels of financial literacy, which makes this conversation
Yep.
even more crucial.
hmm It certainly makes one wonder how many people are missing out on, you know, the full potential of their retirement savings because they don't invest early enough.
Yeah, it's almost like leaving free money on the table,
Right.
right? The power of compound interest really only truly kicks in when you're patient and start early.
And it's not just about money growing, it's about planning for your future security. The alternative, like keeping money in a low yield savings account, can be downright risky when inflation is factored in.
Yep, because if your return is equal to inflation, your savings are, in real terms, not growing
Exactly.
at all. You're essentially stuck in a loop where prices climb, but your money doesn't keep up.
That brings us to the idea of maximizing compound interest. What strategies can really make that work for everyday investors?
Good question. First off, it starts with getting informed, building financial literacy. Knowing which investments have the potential to beat inflation over the long term is key. Then
Yep,
there's
absolutely.
consistency. Even small weekly investments can add up through compound interest.
Right, it's like um, the tortoise and the hare story. The steady pace tends to win the race over time.
Yeah, totally. And it's kind of like a compound interest snowball rolling downhill. It starts off small and then it just like builds momentum. And before you know it, you've got a hefty
Mm.
nest egg. It's an excellent metaphor.
But here's a thought. Doesn't that strategy assume that people actually have disposable income to set aside every week? Not everyone has that luxury, you know.
True, that's a fair critique. It can be challenging, especially when you're young and facing student loans or living expenses. However, the goal is to start as early as possible in any capacity. Even a small amount can
Yeah.
eventually make a difference. It's about starting where you are and scaling up as your financial situation improves.
And then there's the psychological aspect. Investing early also builds a habit of saving and smart financial planning.
Exactly. When you begin early, you're also cultivating the habit of being financially proactive, which can
Right.
lead to more informed decisions as you go along.
I guess it's almost like a virtuous cycle. The earlier you start, the more you learn, and the better your future planning becomes.
Precisely. And note that this isn't just tailored advice for the super rich, it's practical financial education for everyday
Yep.
people. It's all about empowering individuals to manage their personal portfolios effectively.
Now, coming back to some numbers, it's interesting how a simple weekly contribution can accumulate so much over decades. That's one of the most compelling aspects of compound interest, don't you think?
Absolutely. It's really mind boggling. The math behind it is straightforward, yet its impact over time can be revolutionary for retirement planning. Even
Yep,
small
indeed.
amounts multiply dramatically when given enough time,
And that really underscores the importance of not delaying your investments. Every extra year you wait is, well, lost potential growth.
right? The longer you delay, the less time compound interest has to work its magic. And with
Mm.
inflation slowly nibbling away at your savings, it becomes a double whammy.
So the overall message is clear. Educate yourself, start early, and choose investments wisely to beat inflation and let compound interest work for you.
Exactly. It's a wake up call to really think about how you're planning for your retirement. Even though this isn't financial advice, it's all about financial education and making informed decisions.
Absolutely.
That's the key takeaway.
And it also seems that companies like Investling are here to help people build that literacy and confidence. Empowering individuals to become savvy, independent managers of their personal portfolios sounds like a win for everyone.
For sure. We're living in a time when having good financial knowledge is almost as essential as any technical skill these days. Whether you're just starting out or
Yeah,
looking to
totally.
refine your strategy, it's all about that compound interest effect.
Well, this has been a really engaging talk. I hope our listeners feel more motivated to um, think about their future and start making those incremental investments now rather than later.
Absolutely. Remember, even small contributions, when combined with patience and smart planning, can truly transform your retirement outlook.
Right.
It's a journey worth starting as soon as possible.
Thanks for the deep dive. And here's to all of us investing in our future.
Cheers to that. Until next time, keep planning, stay informed, and let that compound interest do its thing.